Greg Mipps. Welcome back to All American Tractor Works. It's a special day today for us because we are going to share and reveal to you the paint job. We have gone red and we're super excited about it. And I want to just share with you the paint job and how it turned out. So let's go have a look at it. So here we are. She's red. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have comments and criticism about the color. Don't be so quick to judge, because you got to remember a lot of times the camera does not show the red as it really is represented in real life to your eye. It is an International Harvester red. I said earlier that I wasn't going to reveal what paint I used or where I got it from, just because I didn't want to cause any controversy. It's International red. I'm happy with it. I think it looks good. It's a little more glossy than I wanted it to be, but I think that it'll die down a little, especially after we get it done. We can get it out in the sun. We can sun cook it a little bit, harden up the paint a little bit more. But was very happy with how it came out. I want to say I probably used about 3 quarts of paint to paint this entire unit here. It was not easy to do. I did end up laying on my back, like I said I didn't want to do. I was just not able to raise this up high enough to get underneath it with being able to stand up. So I did end up on my back spraying upward. Worked out well. Was very happy with how it came out. Happy with the paint. It's nice and dry. It's hard. Like I said, it's a little more glossier than I want, but I think that'll die down with some time. But just super excited that we've gotten to this point. It's taken us a year to get to this, as you've been following this along. So a lot of times when people will ask me, how long does it take to do a full restoration? That's a hard question to answer. There's a lot of stuff that plays into factors with that. Like I said, I hold a full-time job, so I'm not able to get out here every day and work on this. I usually am out here every weekend. I'll spend anywhere from maybe 6 to 8 hours working on something. But it does take a lot of work. There's a lot of time involved. Like I said, there's a lot of cleaning. That's mostly what it is. But it's really rewarding to get to this point. I'm just really happy that it's gotten to this. I'm looking forward to moving on to the next part and getting more and more of this together. I have the rims off that I need to clean up. I'm going to paint those, and we'll get those mounted on here eventually. That's something that I'm going to use as a filler project when I might be waiting for parts to arrive, things like that. That's the good thing, that you can, if you're taking your time, you can really work out how you want to restore your tractor. You can have those little filler projects that you work on while you're waiting for parts. You just don't need to focus on one thing. I unfortunately can't focus on one thing. I usually, as you know, have about 800 projects going on in the shop at one time. So I like to keep myself busy. I'm not really good at sitting around, so I always make sure that I have plenty of side projects that I can do. So with that, let's take a look at where we're going from this. We're pretty much going to leave this alone for a little while. We're going to take and move on now. We're going to focus on getting the engine back together. My goal is to try to get that done here over the winter so that we can get more of this put together. And I would like to be shooting paint on that in springtime. And at this point, I am hoping that maybe we can have this running and out driving on the street by this coming summer. So that's my goal. Let's see if we can get there. Might be a little bit of a lofty goal, but that's what I'm pushing for. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the engine and the components of the engine and where we are with that right now and what our next steps are. So here I am with all of our engine and internal engine parts. The engine block has been cleaned. It's had a rough cleaning. I need to take and do some detail work on it. The first thing that we'll do, and I'll share this with you as we do it, I just need to get all of this stuff cleaned up and ready to go. But the first thing we're going to do with the engine block is we're going to take a look at the cam bearings. I know that a lot of people, when they rebuild engines, go gung-ho and they'll replace all the bearings. They'll even replace pistons. They replace complete sleeves, and that's fine if you want to do that. It's very pricey to do it. I am all in favor of it, of course, but I think with this tractor, I'm going to see what I can do about what's still good and what I can reuse and possibly what I can't. I know a lot of times it's pretty automatic that you put new cam bearings in, new crank bearings. I'm going to take a look at those. I have a tendency to want to do that, but I'm going to take a look at what I got and see if what I've got can't work for us in some way, shape, or form. We'll talk about that more as I get to that point, and I'll let you know what I decided and why I decided it. And we'll actually take a close-up look at some of those bearings, talk about why we changed them out, why we didn't. So that's all here. It's ready to go. You can see I got my pistons here. I have the flat top pistons. I know a lot of people have the stepped pistons. They're putting in their rebuilds these days to get more horsepower. You know me, I'm a big traditionalist. I like to keep everything the way it came from the factory. So my plan is to reuse these pistons with the connecting rods. I am going to put new rings in it. That is the one thing I promise you that will be new that goes in this engine is the rings, just because you can see how worn they are here looking at them. The sleeves I haven't decided on yet. I'll see if I can clean them up and salvage them any way, shape, or form. If you recall, this engine was stuck when I got this tractor. I did look at the sleeve. They're not that bad. I just want to say that the rings maybe rusted a little bit to it. Something we'll take a look at. We'll talk about more down the road. The camshaft looks like it's in good shape. The crankshaft looks like it's in good shape. I go through, put a micrometer on everything. I'm going to check, make sure everything's within specs. And based on what I get from those results is what we'll do moving forward as far as replacements and changing out bearings and what have you. So that's what I got left. It's all on me at this point right now. I got a lot of work to do. I still got more cleaning here to do to get this all ready. But next time we're together, I'll have everything cleaned up, ready to go, and we'll start putting the engine back together. Welcome back to All American Tractor Works. I'm Greg Mipps. We are here working on our 1953 Super H International. Actually getting into the engine parts. It's been a little while it's gone by. I've been doing a lot of cleaning, a lot of preparation work. Still have some more to do. But I felt we were at a point where we could get back with you and kind of share where we were with things and give you an update on decisions we've made and come to and where we're going to go here in the future. So right here in front of me, you can see pretty much the internal guts of the engine sitting out in front of us. I've taken all this, I've put it in my blast cabinet with glass beads and cleaned it off. And the reason for glass beads is the glass beads will not harm the material. It doesn't remove material, it just removes any of the garbage that's been sitting on these for years. And there was quite a few. It was amazing how much these changed going into that cabinet and coming out. I still do have some work to do, like polishing the journals on the crankshaft. I am going to replace the bearings in the crankshaft. The wrist pin bearings seem to be in pretty good shape. The wrist pins fit pretty tight. In fact, I have them here and I still need to go through them and polish those up with some crocus cloth. They've just been through the blast cabinet with the glass beads to get the heavy stuff off. So still have some work to do there. My pistons have all been cleaned up inside and out. The glass beads actually do a pretty amazing job cleaning out the insides, which were pretty nasty after, you know, how many years of sitting there with oil and sludge sitting up inside them. The sleeves themselves, again, clean those with the glass beads. I have actually gone through and honed those considerably. The majority of the damage done to this tractor has just been sitting outside and the condensation that collected in it over that time that it sat with the head off. There's no real heavy rust damage. There is pitting here and there on a lot of the parts. There is pitting here in the sleeves. Now, I know that a lot of people, when they go and they restore something like that, their immediate solution is, well, let's get all new sleeves, new pistons, new rings, replace everything that we can because we're here doing it. And that makes total sense to me. And that was my initial plan. However, I have a neighbor of mine down the street that is like a second father to me. And he's worked in the transit business all of his life as a mechanic. And I had him come down and he looked at these parts with me And we did some measurements with some micrometers and did some discussions. As you can see over here, I have all of the actual call outs from the manufacturer on the proper measurements and the accepted clearances. And after spending some time with a micrometer, and it was his opinion, he says, I wouldn't replace anything here. He says, this engine does not have a lot of wear on it. He says, there's no reason for you to just take and start replacing parts unless that's what you want to do. He says, don't get me wrong. This is yours, and if that's what you want to do, go ahead and start replacing parts as you feel need to do. However, he said these engines were so simple when they were built, they were so overbuilt when they were built, and he says the wear and the issues that this engine have, just in his mind, did not constitute replacing all these pieces. He felt they were all very salvageable and reusable. And after looking into what the costs would be to completely replace a lot of these parts that are sitting here in front of me, which is going to add up to about $750 minimum, I figure, I decided that I was going to try to give these parts a go and see if they would work out okay for me. So we're not going to replace the pistons. We're not going to replace the sleeves. The only thing that I will replace is I will put brand new rings on it because I basically had to chip the rings out of these pistons. I've never come across that before. I literally had to take a pick and pull out the pieces of ring, and it would break off. I got little tiny pieces. I think out of all 4 of these pistons, I think I got 3 rings that came off intact, which was something I've never experienced before. It was almost like they were glued into the pistons. It was very interesting, but I got them all pulled out. All that's been cleaned up. So we will replace the rings. We are going to replace the bearings on the connecting rods. We'll put new bearings on the main journals for the crankshaft. But as far as anything else goes, my plan is to reuse the lifters, which do have some pitting in the top of them. I do have a little bit of pitting on the lobes of my crankshaft, but it's nowhere that they touch the lifters. There's a little bit on the sides. I think we're going to be good to go. My neighbor points out that the biggest thing is that we did not have any rust that stuck up above the surface. And if there was anything like that, we've removed it and we brought it down. And it's his opinion and his feeling that anything that sits below the surface, all that's going to do is hold oil. It should be just fine. We are going to have that happening here in the sleeves. We're going to have that happening a little bit here with the lifters. But the wrist pins, which like I said, I still need to shine up with some crocus cloth, they are a very fit tight into the piston. They're a very fit tight into the connecting rod. So as I said earlier, it really appears that this engine does not have a lot of wear on it. I don't know how many hours it had on it. I can only make assumptions. Something this old, you would think it saw some pretty tough days. But if it did, it wore well for its age, or somebody took very good care of it, or a combination of both of those. So like I said, our plan is to reuse pretty much everything that's here. I've got it all cleaned up and ready to go. We do have to do some polishing work with some crocus cloth to get it there. But our next plan right now, as you can see, I have the block. It's in back of me here. It's all been cleaned. It's all ready to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press these liners back into the block. Once we get that done, we are going to take with an internal micrometer and we are going to measure the insides of these cylinder sleeves one more time. We'll measure the size of the pistons, make sure everything's good to go. But the one thing that I've noticed, and in measuring them, the measurements have been right on the money. Even with me taking and honing the living daylights out of a couple of these cylinders, and they're still not perfect inside. They're kind of ugly. I personally never would have run one of these until I got the advice from my neighbor that he feels that they're going to run just fine. And I think he has a good point, because if you think about it, he says, think of all the machinery that sits outside for years and years, and the condensation
constantly getting into the oil and the surface rust and things like that. He says people start those things up, they run them, they last forever, and they continue to run without any issues. They were just way overbuilt when they were originally manufactured, and they can take that abuse, and they can get through all of those challenges that a lot of today's engines would not tolerate at all. Now, if I was going to take and race this or send it to the moon, would my approach probably be different? Very much so. Maybe this won't work out. Maybe I'll put it together. Maybe it'll smoke like no tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a lot of premature wear really early, and I'll have to go through and rebuild it again. But at least I know on this engine, if I have to do that, it's not a total challenge to do that. I can get the pistons out. I can get the liners out. I can do all that with the engine mounted in the tractor. But I don't think I'm going to have to do that. I feel pretty confident about this. I feel like it's all going to work out very well. The one thing I do want to bring up is that people, like I said, who choose to replace all this and go new, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, Squatch has an unbelievable episode that I believe he's with his father working on this, and they mic everything, and everything's beautiful and it's perfect. And what they do is right on the money. I won't take anything away from them. I won't say that what they did I feel is ridiculous, because I don't. It's just a different approach on putting an engine together. And if that's what you want to do, by all means do it. Like I said, I have no problem doing it. I probably originally would have done that. I don't know if I would have done it to the extent that Squatch and his dad did, because they go through everything. It's an amazing episode. Go look for it. I wish I knew what the name of the episode was, but if you look for it, you'll find it. Watch it. But I think I'm just going to give what I have here a try, and we're going to see how it works out. I have a funny feeling it's going to be just fine. My neighbor pointed out to me, he said that if we were to put this together for what you're going to use it for, you're not running it every day, so it's not going to get the abuse that it was originally intended to. This tractor is going to be retired. It is going to be a parade tractor, so I'm not going to be running it every day. I'm not going to be pulling a disc with it, pulling a two-bottom plow with it. However, he pointed out that even if you needed to do that, you would probably still be okay, and you probably won't get the wear and problems that you would think that you would probably have with the condition that some of this stuff is in. And that's just a testament about how well these things were built and how durable they were. They were just overbuilt, and it shows the test of time as to why they're still here and why we can restore them and rebuild them. So my next plan then is to basically take, and like I said, I got to do some polishing on some of this with some crocus cloth. We'll take and we'll set my liners in a freezer for a couple hours. We'll let them cool off. That'll help them drop into the block a lot easier. We'll get the liners put in. Once we get the liners put in, we are going to take and mic them internally in multiple places just to see where they at. If we find one that's bad, that we don't feel good about, we'll take and replace it at that time. And I'll let you know about that when we get there. I'm not going to hide anything from you. We're going to take and we're going to mic the pistons, see where they're at, make sure they're okay. We're hoping that standard replacement rings will be fine. Maybe we need to go 10 thousandths over. But our feeling right now is that we probably are going to be okay with even standard rings in this. The rings that came off were pretty worn. But there was hardly any ridge in any of these sleeves. So like I said earlier, I really feel like the wear on this tractor was extremely minimal. And I don't know if that was because of lack of hours or great maintenance or a combination of the both, or just because it was an awesome tractor built in its day. So that's kind of our plan for now. We're going to just kind of start going through this and putting it back together. And if we find the problem anywhere, we'll deal with it when we get there. But our intention right now is to put all this back in and just make it work again the way it was intended to originally. So let's get working on this. We'll get these sleeves put in, and we'll bring you through every step as we go and let you know what we end up doing.
Thanks again for being here with us today. If you liked what you saw today, remember to click like and subscribe. I'm Greg Mipps for the All American Tractor Works. Thank you.